Hey, shalom, my homies. I want to share something with you. Today, the church celebrates what we call Palm Sunday, and that's where Jesus rode into the Jerusalem on the back of a donkey or a colt, and the Jewish people were laying palm branches down in front of them. And as a Christian, as a young child or a young man, I was always a bit confused if they didn't believe he was the Messiah, why was so many people doing this. So, my friend Douglas McCaleb, wrote a book called Judeo-Christian. If you haven't read it, read it, look it up, find his information, follow him on Facebook and anywhere you can find him. He's a brilliant author and a brilliant man of God. But Douglas McCaleb is his name, and I'll post a link to this video. But he wrote an article about Palm Sunday. In Hebrew, it's called Shabbat Hagadol. Hagadol is the great one. Shabbat is the Sabbath. Now, if it's a Sabbath, how come it's on Palm Sunday? Well, because the date on the monthly calendar will rotate from the Hebraic calendar in reference to the Gregorian calendar, which is the one we use in modern day world. So at one point, this is the Sabbath where they choose, which is always a Saturday, this is the Sabbath where they choose the lamb to be sacrificed for Pesach. And it was thought and prophesied in several scriptures that that's when Messiah would show up. And then when they were waving the palm branches and laying them down in front of Yeshua, Jesus, the Messiah, they would say Hoshiana or Hosanna. Hosanna is the English mispronunciation of Hoshiana, and Hoshiana means God save us now. So they're crying out, we want salvation. Yeshua is salvation in Hebrew, now. And I think that's fascinating. So the great Sabbath is Palm Sunday, and it's when they chose the sacrificial lamb to be the one in the temple. And they are recognizing Jesus may be one of the Messiahs, the Messiah who comes to save the nation. Now they're looking for Messiah, son of David, the conquering hero. What they got was Messiah, son of Joseph, the suffering servant. So let me read Douglas's article. As Jesus rode into Jerusalem on a donkey, he was fulfilling several Old Testament prophecies. Zechariah 9 through 10, Psalms 118, 25 through 26. The Jewish crowd that day recognized the prophecy in which Moshiach, Messiah, would ride in on a donkey colt. And they waved and spread out palm branches, a national symbol of Israel, in anticipation that Jesus would begin a military revolt against the Romans. Again, looking for Moshiach ben David instead of Moshiach ben Yosef, Messiah, son of David, the conquering hero, which is his second coming. But what they got was Messiah, son of Joseph, his first coming, the suffering servant. Save now is what Hoshiana means in Hebrew. Blessed is he who comes is a descriptive term for the Messiah in the name of the Lord. In Hebrew, that's let me think for a second. I know what it is. Blessed is he who, Baruch haba b'shem Adonai. I think that's what it is. He who comes in the name of the Lord. I'll remember in a second. So what they missed, and what the majority of Christians do not realize, is that particular day was the day in which people were supposed to choose the lamb that would be sacrificed for Pesach, for Passover. That's Exodus 12, 1 through 11. Every year, on the 10th day of the first month on the Jewish calendar, called Abib, or Aviv, in the scriptures, and they changed Aviv to Nisan after the Babylonian captivity. The people were to select a yearling lamb without blemish, which would be sacrificed at twilight before Pesach, Passover, later that week, which fell starting on Thursday night, the week of Jesus' crucifixion. Even though they correctly identified him as Messiah, Jesus lamented the fact that people misunderstood what he was there to do. Luke 19, 41 through 44. He had indeed come to save them, just not in the way they thought. Though through God's providence, however, the Jews in Jerusalem had unwittingly served the Lord's purposes anyway. When the people saw Jesus arrested and in the hands of the Roman governor, just 5 days later, they figured that he had failed to produce what they were looking for. And many of the same people who declared Jesus king at the beginning of the week in the Shabbat HaGadol were now ready to see him crucified on Friday. Well, that should have been Wednesday, just in time for the end of Passover. Those who are unfamiliar with Jewish customs are often aware that Jewish day begins with evening or sunset. So according to Jewish reckoning, when Jesus ate the Passover meal with his disciples Thursday night, the Last Supper, or what people call Maundy Thursday. It was the beginning of Pesach, of Passover. When Jesus died on Friday afternoon, Good Friday was still Passover day, 3 more hours. So Jesus did in fact die on Passover. So why is the Hebrew name for Palm Sunday Shabbat Hagadol when it was on a Sunday? Well, the 10th of the month of the first month of the year on the Hebraic calendar rotates to different dates on the Gregorian calendar. Maybe originally this day occurred on a Shabbat, which of course it did if it was on of a Shabbat Hagadol. This particular week, however, the 10th occurred on a Sunday, on what Christians now call Palm Sunday. The people selected their ultimate Passover lamb, the Lamb of God who takes away the sins of the world, and sacrificed him on Pesach in fulfillment of the law of Moshe. So have a blessed day, my friends, and we'll chat you up later. Shalom Aleichem.